I started painting in high school. I painted and wanted to be a cartoonist before I sang, but it became something that I would do when I couldn't fit something into a song. And the golden age of Grotesque became, for me, not just an album, but an era of expressionism. Thus, my choice of coming to Berlin, which is the birthplace of that art movement, and working with Gottfried Helmwein is a great inspiration. But these pieces are all things that I created kind of between the period of 1995 to now. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring all of them. This is just a few of the ones that are left because a lot of them are in people's homes now, which was kind of sad, but I had to learn to deal with as a painter. My favorite painters were Salvador Dali and Egon Schiele and Gottfried Helmwein, which I got to work with. So as far as my color schemes and things like that, I use a children's watercolor set, so it has a lot of pastels and very pleasant colors, so when I paint other things that are more grotesque, then it has a greater contrast. Well, I think that you can take a term like grotesque or degenerate, degenerative, and you can have it not be derogatory by realizing that if something's degenerative, it breaks down walls and things like that. So for me on this album and this whole approach with installations and action movements in the show, it's about breaking down the borders that I've already established for myself, not even just the ones that the world has made. So I also had to reinvent myself for my own ability to exist and my own boredom, to not come to an end of creativity. I asserted myself as the scapegoat with Antichrist Superstar, but burlesque, vaudeville, cabaret, all these things were great escapes from the world when the world was at war, times of fear. The city of Berlin is a perfect place for this to be an example. And now America being at war, the most patriotic thing I can do is to be an artist and to fight for freedom of expression. So a lot of the images that are in the other room that I did with Gottfried Helnwein, some of them were forbidden. The Mickey Mouse images, the image of the girl and the child. So if someone tells me I can't put it in my record, then I put it here for everyone to see. So it's about disregarding the boundaries that are set forth in music, because you can't limit your entire expression just to a CD when you can have all this, because now everybody who's here is also a part of the whole experience, and that makes the art complete. Well, painting is something I've always done when I couldn't express it into music, but now everything kind of goes hand in hand. So a lot of the songs that were written for this album were inspired by images. I would wake up and say, I want a song that is a burning piano, or I want a song that is a Busby Berkeley chorus line of girls, or a stampeding elephant, and things like that. So I started to work around mediums and not really differentiate any from each other, and or fiction from reality for that matter. Well, whatever I create is my way of explaining or defending myself, but I would never defend or explain what I do. And seeing how I've established that I would die for what I create, I can't live without it either. So art is what makes me happy, if anything does. It's my way of making life worth living. And the fact that I could share it with other people makes it even better. This painting I did at the same time when I wrote an essay for Rolling Stone magazine, because everybody wanted me to respond to all of the allegations with Columbine and just about entertainment and violence, and everything that I've always represented has been a statement against that. To begin with, Marilyn Manson itself is pointing out the flaws of how the media handled Columbine, that they created their own problem. And I painted this at the same time that I wrote the essay, and it's sort of a tribute or a parody to the original poster for the movie MASH, which the peace sign, which actually originally meant victory, which has been forgotten, but it again becomes more appropriate now that we're at war, because I think while neither of these two people were heroes, they did represent the flaws in American society, and it's important for me to always point that out, to make people reconsider what they believe in and make sure that their values are strong enough, and that someone like me as an artist just can't come in and change that. If they can, then what they believe in isn't that great. This is a painting of my grandfather, who was someone who is dead now, but I always thought of him as a monster until I grew up, and then I saw that we had a lot in common. But he was a very strange person. He had throat cancer, and he had a lot of sexual perversions, but that's a painting that I did of him. So it also has, again, a very faded American imagery in the background with a black and white flag. What I thought that I'd like to look like when I get old, if I live that long. And I actually painted a lot of this with absinthe.
While drinking it?
Because I accidentally dipped my brush in the wrong glass. So I figured I'd just use it anyways. And so a lot of this green is absinthe. Well, I think the important thing that Gottfried always does, at least in my interpretation and what I like to do with art, is that when you take icons of America or of Germany or of anything that's religious or political, and you manipulate them into more of a fetish or into something that is very much an aesthetic. It robs it of all its political value and it becomes something that is purely art, and it has no value in politics or religion, except that art itself is a revolt to that.
I think when Walt Disney created Mickey Mouse, he was going to change the world, which he did in a way, because this is an icon that everybody in the world knows, and it stands for a certain cuteness, and sometimes stupid cuteness. And Manson is somebody who constantly, he's his own god. He's recreating himself and his environment all the time. That's what I try to do with my art. So we take the freedom to change anything, even Mickey Mouse. He has touched God and Jesus, but now it's Mickey Mouse. Any society defines itself by their taboos. You know, they're plastered with taboos and their limits. So what the artist has to do, the artist has to be the counter player. The artist has to destroy the taboos, you know, and has to take the freedom to use whatever he wants, you know.
Also, if something is provocative or offensive to someone, to me it's quite impossible to justify the idea that two pieces of plastic or a piece of fabric, just as much as pages in a book like the Bible or the American flag, that if you alter or use these images, that if what you believe in is that fragile, then what you believe in has great flaws in it. So it's always a challenge also to use that, and it's never a matter of disrespecting or glorifying anything. It's a matter of making people think, and that's what we always want to do.
I think an artist, even by breathing and being alive, is violating rules all the time. So I was attacked all the time from beginning on. They called my art degenerate art. They've destroyed the paintings. They have forbidden to show them. Manson had similar experiences. Children in a fucked up society go and shoot other children, and then of course the society finds out the only reason it's Manson and Rammstein who are responsible for that, you know.
Well, the important thing that maybe we try and challenge most, and maybe more so him because he's European and I'm American, but if we're in a country which I love, and I think Berlin we chose to do this in because it's the birthplace of Expressionism. If any kind of imagery that may seem offensive, particularly because it's associated with fascism or something like that, if you try and censor it, then that's exactly what fascism represented, and that's the opposite of art. So we're trying to keep art alive by making people always think and always keep their minds open. And we're making something that is very powerful, and it has a lot of meaning for a lot of different people.
And I think history is repeating itself, because the Mickey Mouse we intended to put on the cover of his album was censored and forbidden, so we couldn't use it, and the two other images that were not allowed to be used. Fortunately, we have created hundreds of images, so we can always fire back with the next one. You know? I want to say that Manson is the biggest and most important living poet in the United States. And I think that any great artist is a mirror of the society, and I can only wish the United States to look in that mirror, Manson, and recognize who they are.
Well, thank you. So, we'll say goodbye for now. I have to get ready to perform. Okay? I'll leave you with this.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye, Mouse Club.